Dak Prescott, Cowboys quarterback, sporting that awesome Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year logo pin on his jacket. Of course, he won it this year. He was acknowledged at the Super Bowl, and he got booed because there were a bunch of Eagles fans in the building. Shame, shame. Walter Payton Man of the Year, Dak Prescott, congratulations on that. Now, Ezekiel Elliott gone, and I can't fathom this, Peter, and we've done this before. Emmitt Smith left the Cowboys. Tom Brady left the Patriots. Aaron Rodgers is leaving the Packers. I just can't visualize Ezekiel Elliott wearing any uniform other than the Dallas Cowboys. I thought they'd work something out and keep him around at a reduced salary, but this is where we are. He's released. We knew this was coming. It would have happened last year, frankly, but for a contract structure that guaranteed his 2022 pay in 2021. We've reached the end of the guarantees. He's gone. He had an 8-figure salary. They're paying Tony Pollard $10.1 million this year under the franchise tag. So free agent, Ezekiel Elliott on the market, and we see what happens next. And there is, I'm told, a slim chance, but not. I think slim is even overstating it, that he goes back to the Cowboys. I think he's going to pick his next destination, and he's going to try to find a spot where he can do what he hasn't done in Dallas, which is at least get to a conference championship game.
So, I don't think that you can look back on that contract he signed in 2019 and say it was a bad idea or a bad deal by the Cowboys. I will only say that the Dallas Cowboys, for 4 years of Ezekiel Elliott, the last 4 years, paid $50.1 million and got, on average, a 1,054-yard season over those 4 years. Now, that's not bad, and that's not, I wouldn't even be all that critical of it. But to me, Ezekiel Elliott is a great example why, as unfortunate as it is for running backs, Ezekiel Elliott is a great example why you don't pay running backs anymore. You don't pay them a huge second contract. It's why, in my opinion, the Minnesota Vikings, who paid Alexander Mattison some this week, I would be surprised now if they now go and pay Dalvin Cook. And the whole reason is, Mike, that over the last 2 years, anyone can see that the most important, most valuable running back on the Dallas Cowboys has been Tony Pollard, who they got for a song, a lightly regarded guy who just came in and kept playing better than Ezekiel Elliott over the last 2 years. Averaged 1 yard more per carry over the last couple of years than Ezekiel Elliott did. And it's not, again, this is not being critical of Elliott. It's simply stating the fact that there are a lot of people who can do this job, and to pay one of them $12 million a year on average over the last 4 years. And I understand Jerry Jones took him high in 2016, 4th or 5th pick overall. And I understand that there's a certain affection, that you want this guy to work, that you want it all to happen, and you want it to be great. And again, I just think it's a great illustration of why you don't pay running backs huge money.
Well, the supply outweighs the demand. Plain and simple. And the problem is, Sims and I were talking about this earlier in the week, for a lot of these guys, the best years happen under slotted rookie contracts where no one can do anything about it. You can't get a new deal until 3 years in if you're a draft pick. So the team just sits back, watches the yards rack up, the touchdowns hit the board, and we're in a great spot. We're spending money on other players. Then, if you have a guy who becomes a star, you have to pay him. And the one thing I'll say about the Cowboys contract, and it is 2022. There's no way they would have paid him $12.4 million last year if that money hadn't become fully guaranteed in 2021. And they weren't going to cut him in 2021 after paying him for 2 years and owing him his full salary for 2021. They just weren't going to do it. So they overplayed their negotiating hand, both with Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, and got themselves into very difficult contracts with both players by thinking they could do you play for the Cowboys, you'll make plenty of money off the field. Why don't you do a a favor for us and do a team-friendly deal, and both guys refused to do it. And Elliott made a lot more money than he would have by holding firm, and Prescott has as well. So we'll see if the Cowboys misplay it with some of these star players they're going to have coming up and try to get them to do team-friendly deals and have it blow up in their faces. Because both guys, Elliott and Prescott, blew up in the faces of the Cowboys, and they've paid both of them a lot more than they would have had to if they would have been more reasonable on the front end. And now, as I said, Elliott, I'm told he's looking closely at scheme, coaching staff, how much they run the ball, and he wants to win. And you say, well, he's won in Dallas. He wants to win more than he's won in Dallas. And that narrows the universe of teams to the high-end contenders. And you have to ask yourself, would the Buffalo Bills make a play for Ezekiel Elliott? Wouldn't that be something if you had him? And then there's the question, too, Peter, of how much gas is left in the tank and for what it costs you to bring in Ezekiel Elliott and the expectation that you'll be feeding him the ball over and over and over again, especially if you pay significant money to get him. You can draft someone. You draft the right guy in round 4, he could be a superstar right out of the gates. That's to your point, that there's just plenty of guys out there that can do it. Why overspend for any one of them?
And that's what I say about running backs right now. You notice this week, have you heard one thing about Kareem Hunt? I mean, Kareem Hunt won the NFL rushing title in 2017, has been sort of a distant number 2 in Cleveland, almost since then, Mike. So I think it is basically teams saying, we're going to budget X amount of dollars for the running back position. I would bet that Kareem Hunt is sitting there saying, okay, I'm waiting for the one team that's going to pay me X. I don't know, $7 million a year. I invent the number. I don't know. And people are saying, why should we do that? Because there are other guys out here that we like who we can pay $4 million a year to and who are going to play really well for us, or who we can take in the 3rd round or 4th round, and then we're paying them $1.7 million a year or whatever the number would be. So running backs, you said it. You said the supply far outstrips and far outweighs the demand that NFL teams have at the running back position.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.